Welcome to Love and Tears, where the deepest stories of the heart are told in words. If you're watching, leave A in the comments to let us know you're still with us. Title: I was 61, and then a rainstorm made my heart skip a beat. I'm Miriam, 61. All my life, I thought I had lived moderately enough, understood life well enough, and had peace. I got married early, had 2 children, worked part-time at the town library, and baked waffles every Sunday. Love for me used to be something gentle and quiet, a presence next to me on the sofa without much talk. Everything was steady like a small river. I never thought my heart had anything left to flutter about, until one stormy afternoon, the rain washed away the safety shell I had kept around my heart for so many years. Don't make the same mistake I did. It was an early summer rain, so heavy that the windows were crying. I sat alone, sipping tea by the window, watching the neighbors' bushes sway as they danced. Then I saw him running down the sidewalk, soaked his hoodie, clinging to his back. At first, I thought he was some kid from the neighborhood. But as I got closer, I realized it was Leo, the son of Grace and Martin next door. Leo was probably 22 or 23 and had just moved back in with his parents after graduating from college. I'd only seen him mowing the lawn or jogging by the house a few times, occasionally, saying hello politely. That was all. Until that day, Leo ran up the steps, shielding his face from the rain, and knocked on the door. I opened it, a little surprised. "Hello, Miriam," he said, panting. I went out without thinking it would rain like this. My parents aren't home, and I forgot my keys. He stood there, looking like a wet puppy. His hair was wet, his clothes were stuck to his body, and water was dripping from his chin to the floor. I hesitated for only a second before leaning in. "Come in, or you'll catch a cold." He thanked me and walked into the house. I took a towel from the closet and handed it to him. Leo smiled slightly as he dried his hair. "I don't want to bother you. I just need to stay for a while." "No problem. Let me get you the clothes you used to wear as a boy. I still have them in the living room." Leo was a little surprised, a little amused, and then nodded. "That's great. Thank you very much." As I walked down the hall to get my clothes, I found myself breathing faster. Not from fatigue, but from something squeezing my chest. It had been 3 years since my husband died. The house was already quiet, but now a strange voice rang out, making me flustered. Leo returned to the living room in a blue t-shirt and baggy sweatpants. "You really saved my life," he laughed, flopping down on the sofa like he had lived here before. "Your house still smells like cinnamon. I remember coming here with my mom when I was little and eating lemon cake." I laughed. "You still make that cake every Sunday." We talked about his job, about the crazy world out there, about the little garden behind my house. Thunder rumbled occasionally, and the rain pattered like a clock ticking down. I found myself smiling more than usual. And I also noticed his eyes lingering on me longer than was appropriate. But it didn't make me uncomfortable. Honestly, it felt warm. "I've been sitting here too long. I didn't want to bother you," Leo said, his eyes still fixed on the window. "I don't mind," I quickly replied. "Then stay for dinner if you want. I made so much soup." His eyes lit up. It was wonderful. We set the table together. I made the potato and leek soup. He did the dishes. He made me laugh several times. His way of telling stories with a touch of awkward humor, was surprisingly sincere. After dinner, we went back to the living room. The soft, yellow light slowed everything down. Leo sat on the floor, leaning back in his chair, his legs stretched out like a child. "Miriam," he said suddenly after a pause, "do you ever feel lonely?" I paused. The question seemed to come from somewhere far away or deep in my heart. He looked up, his eyes surprisingly honest. "Yes," I answered softly, as if confessing something taboo. If you're listening to this part, thank you so much for being with us. Please comment if your heart has also been silent before an unexpected look. Continuing the story, I was 61, and then a rainstorm made my heart skip a beat. More than I'll admit, I said it softly, like a confession. Leo nodded, his eyes fixed on the window, as if he didn't dare look at what had just touched us both. "Me too," he said softly. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was full of things left unsaid, full of nameless feelings hanging between us, like static waiting to be released. I watched his hands fiddle with the hem of his shirt, the way he pursed his lips slightly, as if he were trying to swallow something he didn't know where to start. "I used to see you in the garden," Leo said suddenly, "reading on the porch. You looked so peaceful." I smiled softly, confused. "You tried to invite peace to stay every day." I didn't know how to respond. Compliments had become rare in my life. And when they came from someone as young as him, who had been watching me without my knowledge, it made me reel. I stood up, trying to hide my emotions. "Let me clear these dishes," "I'll help," Leo said, following me into the kitchen. We stood side by side. I washed, he wiped. Nothing was said, just silence filled the kitchen. My hand touched his once, then twice. And the third time, I didn't dodge. I looked up. He had been looking at me before. That moment, it was like a breath caught in midair. I didn't think about anything. I just felt it, the loneliness creeping in the warmth beside me, and the way he reminded me that I was still a woman, not just a wife who had lost her husband or a mother who had fulfilled her duty. But I backed away. "You should get me a blanket," I said almost in a whisper. "Yes, okay." Leo nodded, his voice slow. The moment passed, but it didn't disappear. It hung in the air like the lingering scent of rain on the screen door. And I knew something in me had changed. It couldn't go back to how it was before. The next morning, the sky was as clean as a freshly laundered sheet. Soft sunlight streamed through the kitchen window as I poured coffee, still in my dressing gown, my hands cupping the warm mug. I thought about last night, about that moment in the kitchen, about the unspoken words, and about the stark truth. I had wanted it to happen. Leo had fallen asleep on the sofa. I handed him the blanket and pillow, avoiding his eyes, as if avoiding something too obvious. We didn't say much more. Just good night, and then silence. A silence that was louder than anything else could be said. When I peeked into the living room, Leo was awake, folding the covers. The pillows were neatly stacked on the arm of the couch. He was dressed dry neat. "Good morning," he said, his voice still a little hoarse from waking. "Hello," I smiled, running my hand through my hair like a clumsy schoolgirl. "I hope you don't snore." Leo laughed. I'm a silent guest." He walked towards the door, slipping on his shoes. Thanks for everything, really. I didn't want to make things weird. I stood there, still clutching my coffee mug. The adult part of me, the widow, the mother, the model neighbor, wanted to nod and close the page. But the other part, the part awakened by his gaze, didn't. It's not weird, I blurted out faster than I intended. It's just a little unexpected. Leo paused, half turned toward the door. Me too. Another pause. We stood there as if unsure how to end something that never began. Leo touched the doorknob. I'll leave you to your day. Leo, I called to him before the door opened. He turned. Anytime you can come by rain or shine. My door is always open. I'd said it. His eyes changed. The smile wasn't shy this time. It was softer, more grateful. Thank you, Diane. Just call me Diane. He walked away. And I stood there for a moment. His shadow faded behind the soft sound of his footsteps on the porch. The spoon clanged against the cup, making a small sound, the only one in the echoing kitchen. The rest of the day passed in a strange haze. I cleaned out the linen closet, watered the plants, rearranged the spice rack. But in the quiet moments between chores, my mind kept returning to him. Why was it so important? Why did it feel like a door that had been locked for so long had just opened? That evening, I went out onto the porch again. The air was warm, the trees still dripping after the storm. The book was in my lap, but not a page had been turned. I stared into space until I heard footsteps. Hello, I looked up. Leo was standing there, his hands in his pockets. His hair was damp, probably fresh from the shower. I'm back. If you're still listening, please don't forget to leave in the comments to let us know that it's the little moments that make our hearts flutter the most. Are you falling into yourself when you hear this story? If your heart has skipped a beat because of a seemingly harmless look, or a word, leave a comment with the word seeing each other. We are reading every line of yours. Continuing the story. I'm 61 years old, and then a rainstorm made my heart skip a beat. You're back, I exclaimed, surprised by the joy in my own voice. Leo shrugged his eyes, sparkling under the porch light. I thought, you wouldn't mind. You don't mind? I smiled and he sat down next to me. Not too close, but close enough for the warmth to spread like an unexpected encounter about yesterday. Leo began, his eyes looking far away. I'm sorry, I'm not usually like that, whatever it was. You're not, usually, I replied softly. We fell silent. There was only the sound of the sunset pouring down on the roof, the porch light coming on a soft, golden glow over the two figures sitting side by side, like two wanderers who had just found a place to rest. I've been feeling lost lately, Leo breathed. Coming back to my old house after college, I felt like I was stuck between a child and a man, not knowing where I was anymore. I turned to look at him. I know that better than you think. Trust me. We looked at each other, and in that moment, the age gap faded. The decades that had separated us disappeared. There were just two people searching for a place to belong. I've forgotten what this feels like, I said softly. The feeling of having a real conversation, of being seen. Leo tilted his head, You're easy to talk to, and I see you. Really." The words hit me like a warm wave. I swallowed, my throat tightening. "Diane," Leo hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "That moment last night in the kitchen, did you feel it?" I held my breath. I looked down at my hands for a moment, then looked up. "Yes." Leo sighed as if he had just let out something he had been holding in for a long time. "Good, I just need to know. I'm not paranoid." "No," I smiled. "It's not just me." This time the silence wasn't hesitant. It was a gentle agreement. An acceptance that something had sprouted between us, and it wasn't going away. "I should go," he said, standing slowly. "You don't have to go if you don't want to," I said, surprising even myself. Leo stood still, looking at me. "I want to stay, but only if you want me to too." I stood up, facing him. The porch light fell on his face, and for the first time in years, I felt something stirring inside me, a life, a desire. "I don't know what this is," I whispered, "but I'm not ready to close this door." Leo nodded, and neither of us did. The next time Leo came, it wasn't raining. The sky was blue, the air calm, signaling the coming of summer. I was in the dirt, tending to the hydrangeas in the yard, when I heard familiar footsteps. "Need help?" Leo asked, already crouching beside me. We didn't say much. He took the shovel. I showed him how to dig out the roots without damaging them. We worked in harmony, 2 people, 2 generations, crouching on the ground. And it felt right. Later we sat on the porch, glasses of lemonade and hand sweat glistening on our foreheads. Leo leaning back. "This feels so natural." I nodded. Yes, there was no name for this relationship, and no need for it. We felt the boundary, but we didn't let it separate us. Just learned to approach consciously, slowly and respectfully. That night, I invited him to stay for dinner. I cooked roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and garlic beans. Leo helped clear the table, humming a tune I didn't recognize. We ate like old friends, laughing, then falling silent, but never feeling the need to break the silence. After dinner, Leo curiously walked to the corner of the room where the old turntable stood. "You still have these from the days when Stevie Nicks spoke for lonely women," I joked. Leo smiled and pulled out a record. Fleetwood Mac. He carefully placed the needle, and the familiar sound rang out a click. And then the music filled the room. He held out his hand. "Wanna dance?" I looked at his hand, my heart pounding. How many years had it been? Maybe decades since anyone had asked me that. I stood up, and he led me into the middle of the living room. Everything faded away. There was only the music and 2 bodies moving silently. His hand was on my waist. Mine lightly touched his chest. I rested my head on his shoulder and closed my eyes. "I don't want this to end." "Me too." The music slowly faded, but we didn't let go of each other right away. The hug became softer, lighter, but still holding hands. I pulled back a little to look into his eyes. If you're still listening, please leave I in the comments. There are songs that don't need lyrics. Just a hug is enough to make people live again. "What are we doing, Leo?" I asked, my voice so low that I feared the answer would make everything disappear. Leo didn't answer right away. He looked deep into my eyes as if searching for something important. I don't know, he said slowly, but it's real. And it was. Unnameable, unexplainable, but it wasn't wrong. I led him to the sofa. We sat close together, our knees touching. The space between us was quiet, but this time the silence was filled with questions that neither of us were ready to answer. When his fingers brushed mine, I looked down, then up at his face, and I let my hand rest there. You spent years not feeling, I whispered, trying to get used to being alone. You didn't think you could want this anymore. You can, Leo said softly. And you want it? My heart was pounding. It was all happening so fast, so strange, but also so real. So real that I couldn't pretend. There was no more role, no more facade. Just the raw truth that I wanted to reconnect with life. Leo leaned in slowly, his eyes an open question. I didn't respond with words. I kissed him. It wasn't rushed, not impulsive. It was a gentle admission of all the feelings that had been simmering for days. When we pulled apart, his forehead brushed mine. We were both breathing hard. He whispered, "Diane, I would never do anything you didn't want me to do." "I know," I said. "And that's why I'm not afraid." We didn't go any further that night. We just sat together, hands clasped, hearts open. Leo fell asleep on the sofa again, but this time it wasn't out of hesitation. It was out of understanding. And when I lay in bed, I didn't toss and turn with worry or guilt. I felt at peace. Mojiogi jo jan bat jau rat that. Vatoi kong muon tron trang nuam. Nangai sau jo troikwa. Shamrain hu. The kwok song janke jan tuk toide. Tumot gyak ngudai. Leo kong jan moingai. Vatoi kung kong mongde. Nhung moilan kauk sua atien kategioin hulangji. Moi tu truok jo trong joi toi bong tronen. Mon hadn hu vi et bang buchi wagio jaitong khoan khak foi kaun hujuok. In jambang muktat. Mochiu no toi ngoi tren hien sau voili. Shuvang jo an nangkuoinge tredain hu matong tren tamko. Toin getieng kong ben hong ke ukash. Leo kong go kuanua. Kau jan kwen voi viek buok faun hu. Mot fan kwen tuok kuang goina hanai. Kau bok vau voi mot kiek hopn ho. Kaigi the kia toi hoi jatlik swong. Mot bet ngun ho, Leo kwe jat, cheek hop, len ban. Ben trongla, mot cheek mai chup, hin polaroid ku. Luwai toi chuate, tukilu tre kon ho. Kau juate mot hop film moi. Chao nang hi. Neuming jang tao ki uts Leo noi, tikang nen giulai vai tamni. Toi bat kwai. Suk jong hon kan hungi min tuong. Chao dat biet gach kien goi tamem long. Kau gio mai anlen, konoi lai kau joji. Jung tutu hon, toi luom yeu, tak, tam hin truotra. Kau jua nolen fei, nikon toi di nengam hinan hiendan. La toi, mai tok roi, vigio tejat. Tren ban nu kuoi hoin gai. Toi trong ko vegia, hon hung, kimin tuong. Hung han fuk hon baogio het. Chung toi ngoi suong bai ko sau vuon. Matroilan va jom bat jaun hap na hai kwang chung toi. Leonam gua hetai ke sau jau. Toi ven hung vong, tron vo hin tren jau goi. Chau ko baogio ngi, angoi ta se, noi gi kong toi hoike. Kau kwe jau sang hin toi. Bechuyen chung ta. Toi gat jau. Lux nau chau kung ngijen. Hung. Kaun kung lai an mat thang tan. Kong. I song kwak joy nai thai cho chung ta ka. Toin hin kau ki hon. An hoang. Hon pan shiu trong joy matai. Sau va bing ting. Leo kong jen vi hyuki, kong fai tro choi, kau jen vi thai toi, favano lai, ko kong gau tuon toi noi cham rai, kai nai se kong jon gian, kong leo ngoide nang no ko the tat, va jep, va biet jau shung jang, toi kong noigi, toi chiju ataira. Kamuan ngung cho joy su huan hao toi noi, ko jan cho kwalau. Va metroi, kau keo to in hen hang ve fia ming, toi tua vaun guk kaun ke niptim jo duoi ma ming, jam hom jo chung, toi kong, noi gin hiao nua. Shinam jo om hao giwa, fu on trong tieng, tidam kua huang, hon mak sho te gioi, benanguai van soai van kong, hai biet. Mo jeu ki dion ho, na ho jang saira, hileo roi jitsau hon, helen ma toi. Kong voi kong rutre, shila hien dien. Toi jong kua jung, yen dat lau trong, handlang, kam tren tai, tam polaroid ma, kau jilai. La toi? Nong kong chi la toi? La mot fiem ban ma toi tuong, jalang quen, man mehi vong molong, tui dan tam, an len kan tulak. Kong fai jen holeo, ma jen holai chin hmin, vi joy kitin hieo dat sudu jen duoi dang bat ngon hat la jieo duin hat gi up tan handra. Tavan kun song, neu ban fanjang, nang he toi jai kamon ban, tai vi hoi chuyen nai ko jung, kong ko le joy kitachikan hoi chuyen nai ko dat kong neu bantin vao jieo jo. Hai je lai mot. Je dayane va leo kong chi lamot, kau chuyen ma kon lamot niem tin jep.